Mephisto is going to be in the MCU. Holy moly, Mephisto. The question is, who the hell is Mephisto? Because I know the name. I know the name because I host this show with two guys who absolutely know the name. Is it a big deal? Is it not going to be a big deal? What say you? More Lantern stuff. There's DC stuff. John Boyega rumored for some stuff. Tons of stuff going on the Kristian Harloff live show. Capes and Cows special edition. All right, everybody, let's get to it. Here we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Capes and Cows, everybody. This is the show. We're excited to do it here. We have a lot to talk about. I am joined, as always, by my good buddies, Winston and Coy. We have been doing a fun contest for the crew while we're here, and you guys ask questions during this live stream. This week is going to be a tough one. Rocha started off strong with 70-some-odd questions. Mike and Steph coming out of the gate, 82 questions on Wednesday. I got very close yesterday with 9, I should say, 9. So that was a good one. But you guys, you got a shot to do it here today. We're at 7 thus far. You just need around 75 to tie. All right, go ahead, Winston.
I was just gonna say, I have a feeling that if you ever did those reactions live, that your wife would destroy all of us, because I've seen the comments where like, oh, so nice that Julia Roberts is doing reactions with
It's so funny that you say that, because she doesn't look at the comments, but she went into the comments yesterday for the Agatha thing, and she goes, they want me to go on a live stream to beat Winston's record. I don't know what that means, but I want to beat Winston.
I am biting my tongue because there was an easy layup there and it was just too easy. I'm just gonna be quiet.
Well, she said, so it was funny. We were talking about how I said, well, I don't know. I said the reactions is one thing, but if you can come on a live stream, I go, she's like, I can talk about all that stuff. I go, okay. So what do you think about the latest cast? I said, what do you think about the latest cast of the Green Lantern rumors? And she's just like, I don't know what that means. I go, yeah. She's like, they don't need to hear me talk about that stuff. And I go, that's, and my daughter looks at her, my 12-year-old looks at her, shakes her head. She goes, it's kind of the whole point of the show, Ma. and she's like, what? They don't want dating and relationship advice? I'm like, no, they don't.
Her and Roxy had a show together. That
Roxy had a show would be a lot. Like they would actually clear pretty easily.
I would just go get lunch.
Yeah, you wouldn't need to be present. You actually might get more super chats if you weren't, because it would just be about you.
I wasn't even saying it. Anyway, so it's so funny how this freaking is still, because I know we'll jump into the topics in a second, but as I know you guys are both in the single channel YouTube grind now, right? It's like it really is about what you put on your main topic and your thumbnail too. I thought the Mephisto thing would be good. Barely 200 people watching this fucking show right now, and it's like you would do
2 years ago. It would have been good. I think that brings us to our point pretty clearly. Like, I think this wave of what Mephisto means to the climate in Marvel was a really fun meme. And no disrespect to either company, but when Sony re-released Morbius when it was Morbin time, I do feel like Mephisto is a little past that meme window, and it might have been a bit of a misread. I also feel like Agatha is a reaction to WandaVision. It is a spinoff, so it makes sense to introduce Mephisto there. But I definitely don't think, short of Eric Voss, people are clamoring for Mephisto.
No, and it clearly weren't for this show. So I should have led with the Penguin or something too. I just, like I said, I had a really busy.
Kyle Chandler, Green Lantern, man, that's exciting.
That was big too. Yeah, we haven't really discussed that, huh?
That's my big news of the week.
That is, yeah, I know.
Whip up a temporary thumbnail while you work.
I thought we talked about it. Last week, didn't we? Or no, you know what?
This week, because I did a blurred breakdown on it on Wednesday. Go check me out.
It broke on Monday. It broke on Monday, and Rocha was on the show when it broke.
So that must have been when you.
That's when we covered it, and then we talked about it again on Wednesday with Mike. Obviously, I don't know. Maybe just Luke. I think Luke's watching, so maybe we'll just do it. Maybe do a thumbnail of either Lanterns or Penguin or something too, because this Mephisto thing, you might have
something, and then you can make a better one later.
But real quick with the Mephisto stuff is that I don't know. You don't have to worry. Luke's watching. He probably.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I think he
All
can
right.
probably do it for us.
I'll let Luke do it then.
Yeah, because so when we have Mephisto, I don't even know if is it that important? Is he going to be like a huge, like, who is he? Explain it, Coy.
Mephisto's the devil. Mephistopheles is the character that Marvel uses to kind of use their hell realm as a leader. Like the devil himself, Mephisto, is an important fixture of Marvel because of the demonic stuff, dealing with magic, like Magick, like Magic the character. Dealing with Doom later on, showing like power set structure. It's one of those characters that's like an uber boss. So you can kind of weigh your power against Mephisto. And I think, honestly, it's going to be essential to establishing magic more than the character himself. I do think Sacha Baron Cohen rumors are possible. And I think if you're going to do it on a show, it'd be this one. Comedically toned, kind of campy, which suits Sasha. I think it's also a spinoff of WandaVision, which is when people first started clamoring for Mephisto. So all of those things work. But if you bring him in, I think it's going to be more like, oh, we're setting up for Doom. We're setting up for mysticism that leads to Ironheart, which leads to Downey, all those things. I feel like Mephisto himself is more going to be a setup to magic than he's going to like show up in Secret Wars. Like I don't see Mephisto being relevant in everything, just the magic stuff that sets up everything. Winston,
do you give a crap about this character?
I mean, yeah, just in the sense that it's finally what it felt like to me is it's like, okay, that's fine. You were like, I kind of what Coy said, but I don't think it's that downplayed in that regard. As far as just like, oh, you finally did it, you did the thing. Oh. Like I don't think it's gonna, as Coy said, get as nearly as much hype. But I think that now that we're getting the ball rolling, we're gonna get the Hood later, and like the Hood has the whole kind of demonic element to it as well. With Ironheart and whatnot. I think it's only going to further push stuff along. I think the only thing that I am trying to come to terms with now is I've already kind of pieced together who the teen is. Mm-hmm. And so it feels like they're kind of messing with storytelling right now. So I'm trying to see if that's my red herring now. That like WandaVision the whole time, the red herring was, is it Mephisto? Is it Mephisto? Now it's who is the teen? Right. I don't want to spoil things for people, but I think Coy knows what I'm like kind of referring to here, that they've kind of tipped their hat to one thing, but it actually should be another. Like, like who the teen is, they're trying to lead us down one path. And if that's actually the answer, I don't know how I feel about that.
It's funny you say that, because I said the same thing when I was watching it with Sadie, right? It's like they're clearly setting it up to be the way that they're putting it throughout the story is like, oh, well, it's clearly that's going to be the reveal. But then it's like, well, they're leading you down, like you said, Winston, they're leading you down a path that like, well, clearly it's not going to be that. That it's almost like if it is that, it's like, well, that was predictable. But then you're like, well, wait a minute, I was second guessing myself. I don't know if it was predictable anymore, because it's kind of, it depends on how it's executed, right? Like we always say. But speaking of Agatha, I mean, look, I want to address this, because I said this, and I'm going to stand by this, and I don't care. I don't care. I got into something with somebody on the comments the other day, and I'm standing by this, what we talked about last week. This is the thing with Agatha. Agatha is clearly in the room. They said, we're going to make this basically, as you guys said, Desperate Housewives meets Hocus Pocus or Charmed or whatever it is. And they're landing there, and they're aiming towards where their core audience, where they want them to be, are people like my wife, other people, they're aiming towards that audience. And in the hopes that while other people are watching it with them, with that demo, they're going to go, oh, I wouldn't have watched this show, but it's an enjoyable show. That's kind of the goal. And I said, this show isn't aimed towards me, but I'm enjoying it. And then there was comments, and there was one particular comment. And at first I left the comment on there because it was just like, it started with, well, I hate when it comes to you say that you don't like the show and it's not for you because blah, 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 and going in this whole diatribe. And I said, no, that's not what I said. I said, it's not aimed towards me. I clearly said that I'm enjoying the show and I'm watching the show. I just don't think I would necessarily watch it because I'm not the target demographic for it. To which I left that comment. Then the person started getting into comments and insulting the audience and my audience and other channels. And I was like, I did enough of this, and I deleted that person because, like I said, I could have seen this. Well, let's say you can walk into my store, but if you take your dick out in the middle of my store, I'm throwing you out. You can say whatever you want on Twitter, but it's just like people don't understand this, and it's like, no, you don't. As I said no, and I went back into the comment section and I said, I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is this. But either way, this show is entertaining and it's working because it goes into this story. And this story is that Agatha all along nabs 9.3 million in week 1.
It's because it's good.
It's because it's a good show. Now the question is though, just look, remember, Acolyte did decent numbers in week 1. Can this show sustain? I believe it will, but can it? Marvel Studios, hold on one second. Marvel Studios' Agatha All Along series has scored solid viewership in its first week on the Disney Plus service. The premiere episode of the series has reportedly logged 9.3 million views globally on Disney Plus within the first 7 days of its release. That figure is according to internal Disney viewing data. The numbers are lower than the premiere episode of The Acolyte, which reached 11.1 million within its first 5 days of streaming on the Disney Plus service, and the second season premiere of Loki. Disney Plus has been very selective with the viewership data and released, so there's not a lot of comparison that can be made. They don't report viewership for every series and are inconsistent with measurement period they report when they do. Catherine Hahn, Aubrey Plaza, yada, yada, yada. New episodes are on Wednesdays. So if there's a reason why they're releasing it, is because they're happy with the numbers. I mean, that's why they're releasing it, and they should. But Winston, go ahead. You had a point you wanted to make.
Yeah, I just from the standpoint of I still haven't seen The Acolyte. I'm debating whether or not I will, just because whole can of worms. But I think the big difference here is there were enough people that just straight up were talking about the writing of The Acolyte that you could make the argument that, like, hey, this just doesn't really vibe one way or the other. I obviously there's going to be hateful comments within it regardless. I think it's one of those situations where it even reminds me, you know, just talk about how divisive things are. It reminds me a lot of like the whole Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese situation, where you'll have like sometimes it can be hard for people to be objective because there are ill faith actors surrounded by the situation, like very bad ones. If anybody was trying to say that Agatha at this particular juncture is not good, I would just call BS.
Yeah, it's a well-written. Or not, you can say you don't like it. You can say you don't enjoy it.
Bad
it's well-written.
Is objectively wrong. It's well acted and well written. If it's just not your cup of tea, that's a different story, and we should be able to say that.
Well, to be fair though, also because content is subjective, you can say that you don't think that it is well written. You can say you don't think it's well acted. You can say that. You can also have someone
could also be wrong.
But that's again, that's subjective.
You feel, I get it, but
but wait, let me stop you. You can feel that person is wrong, right? Like, that's the thing. I will agree with you that I would think that person is wrong, but that's why it's subjective. They're not. It's not a quiz to where you can show. They're not necessarily wrong if they think it's bad.
I get it, but I guess that is true. I'm saying at the same time there are certain parameters that you hit with writing, with acting, with the shot choice, things like that just like work. That the flow works.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so. Again, I get it. That's still technically subjective, but there are enough pieces there and how things are flowing that something has to kind of be in that realm one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? And like, I just, it's one of those things where someone that was flipping out about you saying this isn't my cup of tea, it wasn't aimed at me, or it wasn't aimed at me specifically. I'm not the target audience. Again, that's a statement that I need people to understand nuance. I know we've gone into this deep end right now where it's either A or it's B. There's nothing in between, which is crazy to me at this point. Black Panther was not aimed at anybody but black folk. Let's be real.
I don't agree. I don't agree with that.
I feel like Black Panther was like an experience for everybody.
Yeah, it's James Bond Batman. Let me finish my statement. Hold on. When Ryan sat down to make that movie, he was like, I am making a superhero movie for the culture, but it was done so well that everyone could enjoy it. Like if you're being objective with the scoring, with how certain things were, all that kind of stuff, it was aimed at black folk. However, it was done so well that everyone could take it in and be happy about it. Period.
I see what you mean by aim in that context.
I mean, I think
the target.
The movie was clearly made so black people could have their superhero that they saw in their eyes. There's no doubt about that, but I think it was also made for superhero fans. It was also made for comic book fans. It was also, then now, first and foremost, yes, I think it was made for the black audience to have their hero that they grew up with 100%. But I think there's a lot more to it as opposed to this. This is one particular group that they said also, listen, we're also because you could make the same argument and say, we're making this for the people who like Desperate Housewives and who like, Charmed and then we're also going to go for people who like comedy. And then we're also going to go for people who potentially like witches stuff. And then hopefully the comic book audience likes it. And bless you. But it's all about writing.
This is the one I think the least aimed at the comic book audience, like specific. It does seem like this particular show is Desperate Housewives, Charmed, Hocus Pocus, all first. Comic fans down here, and I'm kind of enjoying that because this is not for me, and I've made that clear on this and the last episode and on my reviews on my channel. Like, I'm actually enjoying people getting mad that I'm not loving it because it's kind of a refreshing argument in my comments where people are like, Coy loves everything. It's kind of nice for me to not love everything and be like,
I didn't know you weren't liking it.
It's fine. But like, it's not bad. Like, it's just like, it's not my kind of comedy. It's not my kind of genre, and it's not my kind of anything. But I have no issue with it being for the people that it's for, and I have no issue with the show being the type of show it is because there are 40 Marvel properties. It's good we have things that aren't for us three guys. So right. I think it's kind of fun to be in the outside going like, hey, not for me, but I get to enjoy this and I get to enjoy other people enjoying it more than me. That's kind of nice.
It is. It's just, I think that it just annoys me, that particular thing I was mentioning, because it's no different than the people who say, I hate, if someone hates something and you don't like, and then you like it, then you're like, whether shill or whatever it is, yada, yada. But then it's the same thing where if I don't like something, or I don't feel that it is aimed for me, and you do, then it's a bro channel, and it's bros. And then meanwhile, every woman the most women I've ever had comment on a video is on that one because of A, the subject matter, B, my wife is on it and loving it, right? So it's okay, as opposed to all you got to do in a situation like that. And I hope this person is watching. If they left and never come back, so be it. But if they are watching, like, all you got to do in situations like that is essentially exactly what Winston and I just did not 5 minutes ago. I don't necessarily agree with that. Well, let me tell you why I think that this is this. I think that Ryan Kluger was doing this. And blah, blah, blah. Oh, really interesting. Well, I think this. And it's a conversation. If you do it through voice, if you do it through texting, stop calling people names, especially those people that the guy that was doing this. Just stop.
I agree with you. I'll give them the minor benefit of the doubt because, again, we're in a state now, just the day and age, where everything is a fight. Everything, no matter what it is, if you do not agree with me, then you're the enemy, and that's just where we are. And it's amplified because we're in election year. It's amplified because of all the things that have just happened, period, this year. And it seems to be getting progressively worse. But yes, I think the takeaway here is to learn the lesson of we need to learn how to talk to each other again. I think doing it on stuff that's lower stakes like media than, say, again, politics, I think that is the starting point of us being able to get back to a situation. If anything, I miss the days where not even Kayla or anything like that. I miss the days of like, you could be a Yankees fan, you could be a Sox fan. You hate each other at your core because, the rivalry, but you could be like, damn, Poppy's good, bro.
Right,
like,
of course.
Derek Jeter's the GOAT, man. Like you could at least acknowledge those things while still being like, F you. But like you.
Well, of course. I mean, it's the way that you put it in there, because like I said, if it was just like, oh, I don't necessarily agree with you, I think this show is aimed for everybody, and you go back and forth, but instead there was someone else and there were other people underneath that comment that were talking back and forth with it, and then they were like, that person started insulting the audience, and it's like, just forget it. It's so stupid. But either way, the show is doing very well for Marvel, and it is a good thing for them to have, and good thing for Disney Plus, because this was also my point with Acolyte. Right? Because this is why the middle is so important in a situation like this, because there were right away, and we said it, that when this show came out, people started hating it and saying, oh, there's a gay character, so the show is overly gay. I hate it. Everyone's going to hate it now. I hate it. Here come all the videos. I hate it. And then they're going to hope, okay, now this is going to be just like Acolyte. Everybody's going to hate it. And then there's the other people who love it. But then the people in the middle started watching it and said, okay, whether they're watching it with their significant other or they want to watch it to be curious, and they go, this wasn't that bad. And then they go, it's a well-written show, as Winston said. It's not like, you look at the difference. And Coy, I'm sure someone who's not a fan of either one, I would assume, and not to speak for you, this show is significantly written better than The Acolyte, for God's sakes.
For me, it is refreshing to have something that I can defend against people that are arguing against it in bad faith, while also be the guy that doesn't love everything. I'm genuinely refreshed by this show being not for me, but not of bad quality, because everything I've gone through with not liking stuff, I can't defend it while not liking it. Like, I don't think The Marvels is well made, and it's hard because that was the first like female-led thing in a bit from Marvel. So everybody's like, the guy hates women, and I'm like, really? Watch literally anything else I talk about. But this, I can be like, I'm glad women have a good show that isn't totally for me. So it is much better than The Acolyte, which I don't think handled its subject matter well, which I do think had some really interesting ideas, which actually made it harder. When you can see the potential in something not deliver, it's actually harder than it just being like milquetoast. I liked some of the stuff in The Acolyte that it couldn't find its way through. And there were a bunch of elements that I thought were worthwhile, but they got so muddled. Whereas this show, I think all of the actresses are strong. I think the writing is really essential for the type of show they're doing. I think it's very inventive. I think the production design is actually enhancing the show instead of hurting it. Like, The Witch's Road is an atmospheric gem as opposed to like, we're on the volume and look, there's a tree.
Right.
Like, it feels like it's made. And that is wonderful as a fan of the medium of comic books to go, oh, they did this thing. And look, there's 100 comics on this spinner rack. I'm not picking that one up unless I'm covering it. And that's good. Like, when you go to the comic store, if you buy everything, you're poor. So it's good to have things that you can go, that's nice, but I can't afford it. Like, it's just not for me.
Right.
You're poor.
You're poor. It makes you poor.
Well, I asked you guys this one, man. What do you think about all this? What do you think about the ratings? What do you think about the comments? And I'm sure that this isn't going to change. And the next one out of the gate is going to be Skeleton Crew. And who knows what the hell's going to go on with that one. But there's the Penguin, and the Penguin has not had that discourse, and we'll discuss that in just a second. But before we do, as I mentioned each and every time on this show, we have our wonderful sponsors. There's ways for you guys to help us out if you want to, and also get yourself something wonderful. And two of those ways could be both Hims and AG1. Tell you about both of them. Here you go. Hims. Guys, when we leave the house, whether you got your phone, wallet, keys, how's your hair look? But if you're experiencing hair loss, you may not be so confident when you step outside your door. Now, you got to get confident again, and you got to restore your hair. And you do it with Hims, because nobody wants to lose your hair. And for men, it's common. And now with Hims, the solution is simple. You try Hims Hair Loss Solutions, and you'll be joining hundreds of thousands of subscribers who got their flow back. Hims provides access to a range of hair loss treatments that work all the way from the comfort of your couch. They offer personalized chewable, orable, spray, and serum treatment options so you can find what works best for you. The process is simple and 100% online. Just answer a few questions, and a medical provider will determine if the treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your treatment is sent directly to your door. Hims has hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, so if you feel like you're losing a part of yourself with your hair loss, get Hims and get your confidence back. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/bigthing, HIMS.com/bigthing for your personalized hair loss treatment options. So that's hims.com/bigthing. Results vary based on studios of topical and oral mixodal. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Let's talk AG1. I love AG1. I had it this morning. I love it. It helps you build a healthy morning routine. 60 seconds to get your daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre and probiotics, adaptogens, more. And I've been drinking it for, forever. You can't be part of this show if you haven't heard me talking about AG1. I'm going to give you a couple of fast facts about AG1 and how it supports your gut health. It contains prebiotics, probiotics, and gut-supporting ingredients to support your digestion, reduce bloating, and keep you regular. In a research study, 80% of participants noticed less gas and bloating after 30 days of drinking AG1. For me, I've had a lot of changes since I started to. I sleep better, better gut health, my focus, stress, all of it. It's just great. AG1's powder form makes it easy for your body to digest and access the nutrient-dense ingredients in the formula. I mean, they've been around with us for so long because so many of you guys have been doing it also. You've been getting AG1, you've been checking it out, you've been changing your routines, and it's worked. So if you want to start and notice the difference for yourself, it's a great first step to invest in your health, and that's why they've been a proud partner of mine for so long. Try AG1 and get a free bottle of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/bigthing. $48 value for free if you go to drinkag1.com/bigthing. Go ahead, check it out. All right, thank you to our friends over at AG1 and, of course, Hims. Really appreciate it. As I always do, I put the links in the description, so if you want to go in there and help us out, you can. If you want to throw a question in there, you can do that as well. Guys, we got some work to do. It is in order to catch Steph and Mike. It's 11 questions right now. You need about 72 questions in the next hour and a half. So there you go. Winston's muted. You're both muted. I love that. It's actually great. I'm going to tell you that I didn't mean it. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. I didn't mean to do that.
How long he was going to figure that out.
Tell you I didn't mean to do that. Well, I didn't throw it to you yet, and I knew it.
I was saying we started at a deficit because we started early. Our audience didn't know. We're going to come back.
That's
strong.
true.
Now that it's 10, our audience is coming.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I'm just saying.
Because I will say that someone said they didn't realize the show was starting early. The reason it's starting early, Winston and Corey were great to come in a little early today. It's my little one's birthday today, so I'm taking a half an hour early today to go. She asked me a couple of times. She has been very adamant that she wants me to go watch her do the monkey bars after school.
You haven't said her name out loud on the show, right?
So Maisie, I've said Maisie.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Well, then happy birthday, Maisie.
Happy birthday, Maisie. That's why we're here. Your dad said Maisie. We're like, fine.
This is your birthday.
Right. Well, because you know she'll come to your house and break your legs. That's what it is. Also,
the penguin's about her.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's why she was maybe partially scared of me, because she started seeing me more when I was hopping around on crutches, and she was like, "What is this robot doing in my house?"
Hilarious. Is it true?
She's so good as Sophia in that show, man. I can't wait to talk about the penguin starting your daughter. She's incredible.
Well, it was a good save because because at first I thought you meant she was talking about the penguin. All right. So Winston, you had a point before we moved on to the next one.
It was super quick, just in the realm again of just like what the idea of like aiming or your primary target. Like I think of some of the biggest movies of all time that we've all loved, like say Toy Story, for example, that's primarily aimed at children, but the broader scope would then be family and then just people in general. You know what I'm saying? You're just picking a specific lens to be your main, hey, I want this person to see this, but then you are obviously you have subsets outside of it that are equally as important that you would like to have as much reach as you possibly can. So I'm not saying that Black Panther isn't for everybody. Of course it is.
I know what you meant.
Everybody can enjoy that. I just specifically meant when you start writing the story, who specifically
it was the most important to reach Black people in that movie. There's no doubt about it. That was the most important. And I think we're essentially saying the same thing, because in the same way with Agatha, the most who do we want to reach the most? Right. Who do we want to reach the most? And I think that then by that point I agree with you. Okay, so we were talking about, and as we have now see, there's no longer the description might be the same, but the title is different and the thumbnail is different. We know that both Kyle Chandler has been cast as Hal Jordan. And there's a new rumor, and we're going to talk about both of these things together. There's a new rumor about the front runners, or who's going to play Jon Stewart in the HBO series. And let's talk about that one first. Here is this story. And DC Studios has found the DC's Hal Jordan, but what of Jon Stewart? According to the new rumor, there are 5 names in the running for the Lanterns and 2 likely frontrunners. I think the frontrunners we talked about the other day, so I'm curious what these other names are. Find more details here. With Kyle Chandler now officially set to play the DCU's Hal Jordan in Lanterns, comic book fans are eager to learn who will join him in the HBO series as Jon Stewart. A few different names have surfaced lately, but Scooper My Time to Shine H, Winston's favorite, who was the first to share news of Matthias Schoenaert's Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow casting, has now revealed a supposed shortlist. Apparently, the 5 top contenders are Damson Idris, who we talked about the other day, Aaron Pierre from Mufasa the Lion King, Soap Derisu from Slow Horses, Kelvin Harrison Jr. from Chevalier, and Toheeb Jameau from Ted Lasso. So, oh, wait a minute. So there was the other one. Oh, wow. So it may now be down to Idris and Pierre, though the former being cast in Children of Blood and Bone could take him out of the running. It's been a busy week for DCU casting news, yada, yada, yada. So let me what was there was that movie that was on Netflix, the First Blood kind of...
the Rebel Ridge, I hear is great.
Right. So the lead guy from that I heard was a name too, and he's not in this list. So I'll tell you what I like about it. I like that I'm not familiar with any of them. I like that. I like that. I'm sure that if I saw, and I remember him from that, and he was good in that. I love that for this. I don't want to go into anything except saying, oh, that's Jon Stewart. That's the role. I don't know if anybody necessarily stands out to me yet, because I'd have to go back and go, oh yeah, I remember so and so from this. But Winston, any of these names stand out to you?
Idris, for sure. Damon Idris. I think he's a phenomenal actor, so I would absolutely love to see that. The one from Ted Lasso. Are we talking about the one that was in love with Hannah
Waddingham? Yeah, Adesanya.
Yeah, no, he is also fantastic. I mean,
what's his name?
That photo now I'm just trying to imagine how jacked they want Jon Stewart to be. Yeah. I know the cartoon, at least from Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, like they had the old school box triangle ass like shoulders for everybody. But good God, they out here making him look brolic like he's Luke Cage. I don't. I know he's supposed to be an ex-Marine, but damn, I don't know. I guess in my mind now, I'm only thinking of brolic like black dudes to do this. So I'm like Terry Crews and The Rock. Like that's too old. That's not right.
I think they want to do like an older, weathered, seasoned Hal that retires or dies season 1. And I think it's funny because this is kind of gonna cut the sales out of Sony a little bit, because it's going to be the mentor white guy, the young, apprentice black hero legacy character first before Miles.
Spider-Verse?
I mean, just like they're doing it live action before, and I consider Jon Stewart one of the best legacy characters. For me personally, it's like Miles Morales is the one that has become the character to every generation in a way that's really unique. Like legacy characters usually don't take hold, but Jon Stewart was the one that really started to be able to be a new generation's Green Lantern, and I consider them two of the greatest legacy characters of all time. Like Batman Beyond is another one, but we don't get adaptations of him for whatever reason. So Jon Stewart's got huge shoes to fill, but I do think the age is going to be important. So now that they've cast Kyle Chandler, I do think we're going to get a 20-something Jon Stewart. So I don't know if he's going to be, Super Saiyan level 3 yet, because I imagine they're wanting a Marine, but I don't think they're going to cast a 30-year-old that's been working out for 20 years to get there. I like Ashton Sanders a lot. He's not in any of these lists, but Ashton Sanders has been a Jon Stewart for me for a while, who plays RZA in Wu-Tang.
Okay. Well, I don't think they're going to kill off Kyle Chandler if they get him.
Really?
No, I don't think they're going to kill him off. I think, especially if they don't either. Now, you kill him off in a movie, maybe, but they're not going to kill. They're going to get him because I think that's. If I was to guess, I'm going to tell you that I think that why you signed him up in the first place is, and then one of the reasons why you probably didn't get a Josh Brolin or any of those really big names that were rumored is because of the commitment that probably comes with it. If it was just a series, I bet you would have nailed down one of those guys and would have gotten a really huge name. Kyle Chandler's an amazing talent, really good, but probably would jump at the opportunity to say, hey, listen, we not only are you going to be in this, you're probably going to have you in a couple appearances in this movie, that movie, and potentially
this video game, that animated series,
100%, and maybe a season 2.
Wait, unless this has changed, I had read multiple reports that for everyone, but even with Kyle, that movie deal was actually not part of the contract, and that there's supposedly a situation where, because of kind of the stink still lingering from the 2011 Ryan Reynolds Hal Jordan, that people have been hesitant to actually sign on for the movie. Like I remember reading that whole thing. I don't know
Really?
if that's changed.
I haven't.
Every article I read that sounded like that was written by someone's cousin that heard it in a bar from their dog walker. Like they were.
I haven't heard that because it
wouldn't make sense.
Wouldn't make sense at all. Because if you're James Gunn, you're like, I don't care what the hell you heard. You want to be part of this or not? We're doing this. We're putting together a universe here, and we need somebody to continue the story.
On the record said video game, movie, TV show, part of the contract. So every one of those articles I personally disregarded because they felt like someone trying to get clicks, which is a big part of the tribalism you were talking about with like what's going to sell. Like those articles felt very much like, oh, you know what people hate? Green Lantern. Let's type about it.
Yeah, and I think that this is very similar to what we discussed last week of how they're really putting the effort together. Even though Kyle Chandler's name was not on any of these lists, I think he's a perfect choice. I think that he is a great actor. I think that he is going to be able to. You could see him as the younger version when he's reminiscing whatever too, where he could be a smart ass and then kind of growing into the more chiseled kind of hardened Hal Jordan and being the mentor inside of the true detective, lead detective guy. Absolutely can see that. I think it's very similar to what we were talking about with Joel Edgerton, where he's one of those guys that he's never going to be on these rumored lists, but he's always going to be, when he is talked about, going, oh, this is a good choice. That guy's awesome. What do you guys think about Kyle Chandler overall as an actor, Coy?
As someone who just rewatched Game Night for the 500th time, I am always excited to see Kyle Chandler. I think Kyle Chandler is one of those actors that really elevates the work in a way that's subtle enough that he doesn't get put on those lists. Like, I honestly think Friday Night Lights Coach is one of the great inspirational, almost like going out to war speech figures.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think of Hal Jordan. Like, you want that character that's going to be able to summon all that raw emotionality and convey leadership. And I would have thought, like, your Mel Gibson types, your leadership on the battlefield types for the Green Lantern as far as speech. But Coach is kind of perfect for a mentor to Jon Stewart, for someone in this vein. So it was a surprise for me. And at first I was like, Kyle Chandler. And then as soon as I thought about why I love him, it was perfect.
Winston, what do you think?
So you're going to make the construct or not?
What?
Clear eyes, full hearts.
Like,
I immediately, that is one of my favorite shows. It has its ups and downs. There's certainly some seasons that aren't as good, but he consistently, him and Connie Britton, completely crushed their characters throughout that show. And I've been saying this. I immediately am thinking of the Coach Taylor element, and then like the Fed from Wolf of Wall Street, and just putting the two of those together to make, Space Cop Mentor. And he is going to absolutely crush it, on top of the fact that what my main concern was, I didn't necessarily want to see Brolin. Brolin's already done Lord knows how many different comic book sort of situations. And Kyle Chandler is still already a pretty big name, but I wouldn't argue that he ever hit like A-list.
I think he's a big name. I don't think he's a massive name in the casual viewer, but in the industry, yes.
But big enough that like you can go, that's a veteran presence. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it elevates the project immediately.
But he doesn't take all of the shine of the spot. Like there's certain names that the minute they're heard, it's their project. And I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to have that kind of shine. I'm just saying that, like, if the focus is supposed to be on the young upstart, you don't necessarily want the
Tom Cruise,
to be exactly
right? Because but here's to an earlier point where you were talking about how if you think that Agatha is not written well or that you're wrong, right? Someone said, and which I disagree with that, because anybody can. I agree with you that I think it's written well, and I agree with you that it's acted well, but I think anybody can have an opinion on it. Where somebody said, in my opinion, Chandler is an awful choice. I couldn't disagree with that more. I think that is 100% wrong, but it's not wrong for that person for thinking that. You know what I mean? Because like how, to me, what a great actor, and can be so versatile and be able to do so many different things. I think it elevates your project, and you don't need him to be a star. But and that person was also respectful. Just said, in my opinion, he's an awful choice. I think there's nothing wrong with saying that. But anyway, I asked you guys, of everybody that's rumored thus far, with both Jon Stewart and now that we're getting Kyle Chandler, this show's shaping up to be something pretty good, I think. What do you guys think? Put your comments in there. Tell me what you think. Speaking of comments, you guys have now reached 22. 22, not too. Listen, you still got a little bit to beat Mike and Steph, about 60 some odd questions. But hey,
Mike.
But nonetheless, we are still kicking ace. All right, let's before I was Coy, anytime you want to talk about Deadpool, I know you want to.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So Deadpool and Wolverine coming out on my birthday, October 1st.
Ooh.
It's coming out on my birthday, Deadpool and Wolverine. And so I've been doing the movie, the watch-alongs, right? We just did we did a reaction to Logan with my friend Sam, who I don't know if you guys have watched yet. You guys both would love Sam, right up your alley. Just a firecracker of a individual. I love her to death. I've known her since the first grade, and she did the Logan one with me first. We just released Deadpool because she said, I think I saw it, I'm not sure, and then we turned, she's like, I don't remember this, I didn't see this. And I think she saw, like, maybe she walked in on a scene or something, and so when we watched it the other day, and she just was losing it, right? Like, lost. And then so we watched the second one last night. She almost fell off the chair like 5 times. She was laughing so hard. She's like, I haven't laughed that long, and I can't even tell you how long. She was like crying, laughing. And after watching, because I hadn't seen the first one in maybe 5 years, and the second one I haven't seen since I saw it in the theater. So the second one was very fresh to me watching it again. I think both 1 and 2 are better than Deadpool and Wolverine. I think both.
Wow.
Yeah, after because 3 is pretty fresh in my head. 1 and 2 are less gimmicky, and I'm gonna watch 3 again, but there's something to those movies that I think the first 2 that are significantly different than the third. If I'm gonna rank them right now, I'm probably gonna rank them in order. I'd probably go 1, 2, and then 3.
It's 1, 3, 2 for me.
Okay.
1 for me is a little bit comfortably above 3, and then 2 is decently below 3. Like, I think 3 is an excellent film of the current age of superhero stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's exactly in line with like where superhero culture is, with the dash of adding the really strong brotherhood themes that a lot of movies don't really touch on. The 2 of them genuinely feel like brothers because they are. I think they use the multiverse stuff well by being Deadpool. It actually could be a commentary in the MCU.
Right.
And I think the third one is the biggest commentary in the MCU. I think the first one absolutely does a good fourth wall break, going like, superhero culture. I think the third one elevates superhero stuff just like Deadpool does by being an outside looking in on it. But the first one's got the most heart.
100%.
The first one
I think the second one.
11-year love letter.
I think the second one has more heart than the third. I think that's the thing. I think 1 and 2 have way more heart than the third.
For me, the Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds anchor is bigger for me than 2. Like the Josh Brolin stuff doesn't really feel like Cable as much to me.
Sure.
I think the directing is really fun, but not as heartfelt.
I don't think the kids
Fridging
that I think Russell's not great. The kid,
Fridging Vanessa in the beginning doesn't come with a replacement. Like, whereas Vanessa's not in the third one because of the second one. Hugh Jackman is the replacement, romance. Whereas the second one, there is no anchor to Deadpool that makes it elevate for me.
Yeah, I all fair arguments. What I'm going to do is for everybody who's watching right now, because I want, because I was also thinking about it because both my friend Sam, my wife, my friend Tina, they were like, am I doing this right? Because they're not. I basically sucked them out of their normal lives and stuck them in front of the camera in front of people, and they're wonderful. They're all wonderful at it. They're all great. Like Matt Serra has been doing this stuff for forever. So you don't have to worry about him.
He's also comfortable with the camera.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like, so he hosts on UFC Unfiltered all the time. But all 3 of them, naturals, great, but asking the questions of like, am I doing this right? I'm like, yeah, you're killing it. So all you got to do is just be yourselves, and it's crushing. So I actually just posted in the comment section the link for the Deadpool reaction. Just go over there and we'll watch it, obviously, and then just throw a comment in there and show Sam some love. Okay, so let's get to this rumor. This is a Boyega rumor. And that rumor.
Oh, Jack, Jon Stewart.
No, right? But that would be.
They want a Jack Black man to be. I
know.
Jon Stewart.
Well, but I think that would take away from the unknown aspect of what they're trying to do there. But
I agree.
Star Wars actor John Boyega sends superhero speculation into overdrive with new social media posts after playing Finn in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Ray! There's a lot of excitement in seeing which big franchise John Boyega potentially joins next. Could a Marvel or DC role now be in the actor's future? John Boyega put himself on the map with a star-making.
You know crispy
I hate
fries.
that so much.
Especially when you run a restaurant.
Quiet.
With delivery,
Quiet.
those
Oh my God.
fries have a
Are
long
you
way to
kidding
go
me?
before they hit your customer's table. But McCain sure
Wow.
You just get attacked.
Did you know? You guys, I feel like the audience is going to hear that, but not you guys. So there's.
Oh, we
shit
just
just
heard like you got a
rolled
fire
in.
hose.
It was
Yeah,
no.
just-
It wasn't a fire hose. It was a freaking really big ad that was blasting into my ear.
Thank God it protected me. Shit.
No, not the audience. Yeah, see, the audience got it. John Boyega put himself on the map with a star-making performance and tacked the block. Then he went to Star Wars. Unfortunately, Lucasfilm dropped the ball on Finn and his story arc, disappointed Boyega and the Star Wars fans in equal measure. Facts. There's long been hope that the British actor might join a Marvel or DC project, and some new social media posts have a speculation going into overdrive about him potentially preparing for one. As you can see below, Boyega has hit the gym and looks ready to don spandex as any number of superhero characters. Chances are he's just getting into shape or working out for a future role that has nothing to do with the MCU or the DCU. Still, these posts have got fans talking about which heroes or villains he'd be a good fit for. Of course, it was back in 2022 that Boyega said, Marvel is not in the vision for me now. I want to do nuanced things. I want to donate my services to original indie films that come with new, fresh ideas because I know it's real hard to top Iron Man in that universe. Things may have changed since, especially if the right roles come along or a truck full of money landed on his lawn. One franchise we don't anticipate Boyega returning to is Star Wars because he's since looked back at that experience in a mostly negative light. I do not put money on that. And by the way, the Cal Kestis live action debut rumored. Hey, remember when I reported on that about a year ago? Anyway, like you guys knew what to do with Daisy Ridley, you knew what to do with Adam Driver, you knew what to do with these other people, but when it came to Kelly Marie Tran, when it came to John Boyega, you knew F all. So what do you want me to say? They want you to say, as I enjoyed being part of it, it was a great experience? Nah, I'll take that deal when it's a great experience. They gave all the nuance to Adam Driver, all the nuance to Daisy Ridley. Let's be honest. Daisy knows this. Adam knows this. Everybody knows this. I'm not exposing anything. Whatever the future holds in store for Boyega, we're excited to see how things play out for him in the upcoming years. Well, good for him. I like John Boyega a lot. He's a really nice dude, and I root for him. And he's a very talented guy. And he's 100% right. He was absolutely shafted in that series. But I don't think means that's the end of him in then. If that Rey movie ever happens, now if the Rey movie never happens, then I don't think you'll ever see John Boyega back in Star Wars. If the Rey movie happens, I think Daisy Ridley can get him back. I think they're that tight that he would come back for her if she wanted to. But Winston, as far as DC goes, as far as Marvel goes, see John Boyega showing up there, and if so, who?
I think there's a less probability of him showing up in Marvel just because it's all under the Disney umbrella. I understand the idea that different camps, but I think just in general, I could see him just associating, you know what, I'm good. I don't need this. So I would say a better chance of him showing up in DC potentially. And if we're talking about a little more nuance, I feel like maybe a villain then. Maybe like
cool.
and him having a Killmonger type moment. I'm trying to think of what villain in particular off the top of my brain. Give me a minute to ruminate on it. But I just, I think it's not to say that heroes haven't been able to do good stuff. I mean,
somebody said something though. Somebody said something in the comments section I hope isn't right.
What?
What if he shows up in the Sony universe? Yeah.
It's Morbin time.
Oh,
the only way I would be okay with that, but I would figure they would do Miles in the MCU is maybe he's going to play Miles' dad. I could see that because you're not going to take Donald Glover away from Prowler.
If you're John Boyega, you're going over to just play somebody's dad.
But I mean, we've seen in the Spider-Verse how important Miles' dad is, though. Like literally, that is if you're talking about nuance, you just get to come in and do all that. I could see him in his uncle era kind of like that. But again, you've already got Donald playing the Prowler, so you wouldn't recast Donald. That would be silly. But the idea that Donald and John are brothers actually sounds really kind of interesting in my opinion. But I can see him just as easily, like you had mentioned Tombstone earlier. If they want to give Tombstone the Black Mass treatment, where like even though we didn't love Birds of Prey, or like the collective whole didn't, I think we can all agree that Ewan McGregor was pretty damn great as Black Mask. I could see if you wanted to give him, I don't know. I for some reason I feel like villains sometimes get to have a little more fun and do get to have a little more nuance than some of the heroes in superhero movies. But that just might be me.
What about you, Coy? Who you can see him playing?
I feel like if you want nuance and if you're doing like a build out, and again, the Marvel thing is tricky because DC umbrella, I think the coolest character for him personally would be something like Bishop, who is kind of all the things he didn't get to do with Rey and Star Wars and Finn. Like Finn was a character that had this arc that felt like it was set up for him in the first movie, where it would be like, let's explore the morality of a stormtrooper. Let's explore those like details. I think Bishop is a character that looks at morality on a timeline scale, where it's like the morality of this time, the way the world perceives him at this time. It's dealing with racism and bigotry and hate and vitriol, but it's also dealing with it in a way that doesn't feel like it's pandering for the concept of those conversations. And I think Boyega would appreciate that. I also think that it's more likely he's DC because of what we just talked about. And over there, I think he's a little too old for Static Shock. He's way too jacked for Static Shock, but he'd be great for Black Lightning in like the next 4 or 5 years. I don't know if they're going to go that far out, but with Mr. Terrific taken, I do think like Black Lightning has a lot more nuance. And then if they go with an older Teen Titans and make them the Titans, which I could see them doing, he'd be a dope Cyborg if they let Cyborg be the character they wanted to open it up to. But overall of those, I think Bishop is
John
the most
Jones.
John Jones would be cool, but I don't know if you'd want to be hidden because like.
But you got to remember, John Jones is constantly masquerading as a human. So like he literally, and in most iterations in modern day, he's always turned himself into a black man. So like literally, you could do that, and he's just kind of chilling, doing his thing.
Right.
He's just like John Jones is very complex. That might be the
100%.
only DC hero that pops out in my head immediately.
Well, there you go. So there's a shot that Boyega could show up in DC, could show up in Marvel, or like they said, maybe he's just getting jacked for a new role, and there's nothing of the sort. What do you guys think? Is anybody in there that you think that he could play, should play? Put your comments in this. Tell us exactly what you think. Now, before we get into your questions, we got about 24 right now. About 24. It's a nice. That's a nice, modest day. What do you guys think about Penguin? I know that right now, actually, I should just say Coy, because Winston and I haven't had a chance to see episode 2 yet. My goal was to watch it this morning, do an immediate reaction to it. I couldn't do it yet, so I think that as soon as what I'm going to do is I'm going to go do something with my daughter real quick, and then she got her gifts this morning, so she's gonna be playing until we go to dinner. She's got this. She's got a lot of stuff that she'll probably be bored with in about a month. So
be a child again.
Yeah, right. So anyway,
and for the record, I do think that Boyega is just getting jacked as like a thirst trap post. For the record, it's fun to wizard Marvel cast and all those things. But if you've seen They Clone Tyrone, he got big in that just to be like that character suited that, and he's so good in They Clone Tyrone. But I don't know if it's necessarily superhero. Just for clarity of the Capes and Cowls audience,
he genuinely could just be out here trying to find wifey, bro. He's like, look,
it felt thirst trappy to me. It definitely felt like he was like, I've been working hard.
Yeah. Hey, wait, you know what I just thought of before we move to this Penguin thing? We haven't talked about the Thunderbolts trailer.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
That was also Monday, wasn't it?
That was. Yeah, so the Thunderbolts trailer dropped. And I'll tell you, we didn't have huge expectations. I think this movie looks pretty good. I thought the trailer was pretty solid. I thought they cut together a good trailer. I think there's really good chemistry so far, what you've seen. Although I will say at the end of the trailer, the only thing that was silly was like, is that Bucky? Like, yeah, we saw him 87 times in the trailer already. Of course it's Bucky. So the editing of the trailer, but not the movie itself. And then the fact that Lewis Pullman's playing Bob again from Top Gun. So there we have him doing that once again. But I think, and the only one so far who I love, and you guys might have said as much, I feel Winston might have said this at least one of our conversations. I don't think Julia Louis-Dreyfus fits into this universe. When I see her as what's it, Valentina, when I see her, I do not separate any other character she's ever played. I don't see her as this character yet, but this could be the movie that changes that. But I was very surprised with how much I said that's a solid looking movie. Winston? What did you think of this trailer?
I'm super excited about it. Honestly, it's giving me the hopes and dreams that I wanted out of the original Suicide Squad. I know we got like definitely something more akin to that with Gunn, but that gave me kind of Gunn's flavor. I think specifically the idea that was originally presented with that first Suicide Squad movie was what this feels like to me. That it really is, hey, we're kind of being brought together, but like to go at the angle of, oh, they're trying to off all of us for being evil type situation. And even the way that you saw the look in Bucky's eyes, I'm like, is he re-brainwashed? Like, that's a really killer mode he's going into. There's just a lot.
When you shop with the Shipped app, your schedule is the only schedule that matters.
I'm very excited about this. You're not going to miss with me just with the chemistry alone between David Harbour and Florence Pugh. The two of them, just that family dynamic, and it looks like Rachel Weisz is going to be in this as well. Just looking at the IMDb credits, so you might get a little more of that. Who knows? Scarlett is executive producing on this. I doubt she's coming back just from like the whole Dead situation. We're not going to see her until Secret Wars. But I just, if you're putting that family back together even for half a second, that I'm going to be here for it. But it looks good to me.
Good. And Coy, what do you think?
I feel like that asterisk is even more certain to me going to be a post-credit scene in Cap 4 that makes this Dark Avengers. I do think this is, like they say, assembled in the trailer. They write it and they speak it. I think this is a dope Dark Avengers. I think maybe Secret Avengers, but that brand isn't as strong. Dark Avengers, I think more of the day-to-day population knows Dark Avengers than Secret Avengers. But either way, that's what I think this team is going to end up being. They're assembling an Avengers Tower. Valentina bought Avengers Tower, it looks like. 2 of the shots are from Avengers Tower. So I think it's a Dark Avengers movie, and I think that it's really smart to assemble a bunch of super soldiers in a government commentary film on unleashing heroes under regulation. I think it brings back a lot of interesting conversations about a regulated, violent group setting up the X-Men in the next phase. I think it does a really good job building out these outcasts that we love as actors to be. How did they get perceived by the day-to-day public when they've like killed people in the case of that Captain America? I think it's a really well-made trailer. I think tonally it looks more cohesive than I feared, because it did feel like one of the things in phase 5 that was filmed, reshot, reassembled, test grouped. Oh no, what's this going to be? Like the trailer, which you can always cut a good 3 minutes, but the movie feels whole, and that made me happy.
So guys, put your thoughts in there. What'd you think overall about the trailer for Thunderbolts? You think it's going to be pretty good? I'm glad that we had a chance to talk about that, because we didn't cover it because it came out earlier in the week. And I think actually, there's the other thing. This one we touch on briefly before we get to the questions, and that is, I thought Superman was wrapped. Isn't Superman wrapped filming?
Yeah.
Alan Tudyk
Yes.
is either playing a character via voiceover because he already signed on, or I think both the characters, I think he's going to be our voiceover. So I don't think he's newly cast. I think he's newly discovered as being in the cast.
So he was in it, and somebody just figured out that he was in it.
Yeah, and I honestly think that it's I think there's going to hopefully more of that. Like even 5 years ago, we didn't know every single cast member. 10 years ago, we got to actually watch movies. Now it's like, oh, let's piece together every single person that's got one line of dialogue.
Right, with the social media. So you wouldn't even dive into it yet, because I just think
it's
you nailed it. Yeah, I think you're right.
Everyone was like, "Oh my God, Alan Tudyk, we got 3 casting news this week." I'm like, "But did we?" Because Dr. Phosphorus is in, the Creature Commandos, and maybe he's just playing Dr. Phosphorus, or he's Mr. Mixoplitic and he's a voice. But either way, like, we don't need to know everyone whose ear appears on film.
Can't go imp already, bro. Not the first move. I would be beside myself if they did that.
Post credit.
Okay. If you want to post credit it, fine, but you definitely can't do that.
Oh, he's not going to be like the main villain of it, but I think it'd be smart to build out rogues as well as League members as well as Planet.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what they're going to do overall with how are you saying, Coy, that he could the same character that he's doing maybe in Creature Commandos that he's doing in this, or something completely different?
Yeah, I mean, because so he plays Dr. Phosphorus in Creature Commandos.
Yeah.
He's the voice of the character.
Yeah.
So I think the most likely scenario is that character is going to be CGI, so he wouldn't have physically been on set, and it'll be like his role in Star Wars, where he's the voice of it, just like he's the voice in the cartoon. But he could also be the voice of someone like a Mr. Mxyzptlk, or he could be in the movie, which is the third, like, I think it's the least likely, and we just didn't know it yet.
Right.
But I think either way, this felt like we were on a clicky roll of, oh my God, we cast the villain in Supergirl, which we haven't talked about. Mateus was confirmed,
Right.
which is exciting.
Right.
We briefly talked about it last week, but I think we were on a roll of Kyle Chandler, Mateus confirmed, and people were like, oh, Alan Tudyk's in it, and it just became a bigger thing than it was.
Right.
But you remember when like we'd get superhero costume photos and it like took over the news cycle,
Right,
and then we
yeah,
got
yeah.
so used to superhero costumes. I'm just worried that by the time the DCU comes out, because of James Gunn being so good at protecting secrets, people are going to be diving extra deep, and we'll get Age of Ultron, and we'll know the whole movie before they're out.
Yeah. All right. Good point. So, as far as this casting goes, do you agree with Coy? I happen to agree with him on this one. I think that this is old casting coming to light. But what say you guys? Put your thoughts in there. And speaking of your thoughts, we're going to get to a bunch of them. We got a bunch of questions that we will discuss. But before we do it, everybody, I got to tell you once and for all. Yesterday, Winston texted me and he goes, "Hey, tell me a little bit more about Prize Picks." And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to tell you about Prize Picks. They're a sponsor on our show." And I know Winston knew that, he understood that, and so he hit me up, and he knew because he pays attention to this show, and like you guys should too. This is Prize Picks, and it is absolutely wonderful. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Winston, you know, I knew you had a chance to use it. What was it that you loved so much about Prize Picks?
I mean, it's this idea, man, of like you hear all the time, just very off the cuff, like, oh, you know, the over under on things, stuff like that, that you essentially can just put together who you think, and the same way that I love just playing regular old fantasy football, you can put together who you think that particular game is going to like hit certain benchmarkers, and it's a really easy, fun way to just get in the game, more or less.
It's easy.
It frustrated me a little bit.
Yeah, but it is really easy. You can, and what's beautiful about it is you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Now, it's great.
Exactly. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just saying it only frustrated me because I put too much faith in the Cowboys. So that was my fault.
Well, that's the beauty of it. What they let you do is it puts their members first. So all the withdrawals are fast, or safe, secure. When your picks hit, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You double your money, even if your picks don't hit. They're really great. And like I said, it's super easy. If you download the Prize Picks app today and you use the code BIGTHING, and you get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code BIGTHING on Prize Picks. You'll get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. That's right. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game, everybody. You got to make sure you do that. Check it out. Not only will you be benefiting yourself, you'll be benefiting the show. And the other thing I'm going to tell you about is the Perfect Gene. Now, I told you about the Perfect Gene yesterday. Told you about the Perfect Gene the other day. I told you about it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'll tell you about it now. It is great, and you got to stop hugging your nuts with nonsense. 700,000 pairs of nuts have been rescued from the Perfect Gene. That's right. The Perfect Gene has rescued all bad. You wear a bad pair of jeans. Well, Perfect Gene's like, not anymore. They fit like they were custom made. They stretch like you wouldn't believe. They look fantastic. My wife compliments me every time I wear them. They have a serious, massive range of sizes with 6 fits from skinny to thick waist size from 26 to 50 and length 26 to 38. Now, limited time, our listeners will get 15% off the first order plus free shipping at theperfectgene.nyc, or you just Google The Perfect Gene and use that code for 15 off. Now, it's not just jeans. They've got T-shirts revolutionized as well. Perfect Tee has just enough stretch to hide the beer belly. It's really a great shirt, great product overall. I couldn't sing higher praises for The Perfect Gene. It's time to stop crushing your balls and uncomfortable jeans, you got to go back to theperfectjean.nyc. 15% off for our listeners on your first order, plus free shipping, free returns, free exchanges when you use that code Big Thing at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc. Use that promo code Big Thing. After your purchase, they're going to ask you, they're going to say, hey, how'd you hear about us? You got to support our show. And you say that we sent you. That's right. F your khakis. Get the perfect jean. Okay, guys. So let me ask you this question. Right now, where do you think you are as far as questions go? How many? Go, Winston.
39.
Coy?
I was gonna go 37 for Kevin.
I like the high. I like the optimism. We're at 30. I like 30, but that's still good. That's still good. That's super. That's anytime we're over 5, I'm happy.
We started at a different time. It's been a week where news has been covered throughout the week. We're doing our best.
You're doing good, and people are in here and asking questions. I love when people just incorporate. It's just a fun little game that we play. And this week, Mike and Steph look like them. But look, I said that about Winston. We thought Winston. I think Winston, when he started his Aaron Judge run, he was on. I think it was a matter of 13.
Shohei Ohtani run at this point. 50-50 club.
Well, 13 questions. He had 13 questions, and we're like, oh, well, maybe you'll get to 40, and he went up getting 106 or something. So.
I do worry about next week's birthday week. I feel like we have a high stakes.
I think Roxy's on my birthday show on Tuesday, so she's probably
we're at a big handicap. But Joker might help us on Friday because I'm really excited for that.
Joker could help on Friday. We'll see. Okay, here we go. Let's start to get these questions, and the first one is from Mustafa Agin. If you knew you were going to die, what movie would you watch prior to your death? What's the last movie watching experience? Thanks. Love from Australia. Let's see. I was going to say, just to get pissed Winston off.
What were you going to say?
Julia Roberts movie.
Why would that piss me off?
Because we had the whole Florence Pugh conversation too.
Well, that's
more of a Roku thing. It's probably more of a Roku thing.
Because I was like, I'd be like, what? Great. That all good for you.
Yeah.
If you would have been like, yo, who would I watch as the clearly more attractive? I'll be like, sir, that is a matter of an opinion.
Right. That's fair. Yeah. You didn't give me the crap that Roku, when he was clearly wrong, did. What is there a movie that comes? I mean, it'd probably be Empire Strikes Back. It'd have to be. It's the one that. It's just a great movie. I don't know.
I got 2. One in Bruges because it makes me laugh more than any other movie.
Yeah,
and the end is kind of about death. Like the movie ends in a way that feels very existential, and I think it'd be kind of fun to go out thinking about like that. What is the next? And then 2, the movie that makes me consistently happy no matter how many times I watch it, and I think is the most attractive cast ever assembled, A Knight's Tale. A Knight's Tale is just pure joy, and like I want to go out happy, and that movie just always, even no matter what mood and what part of the movie is on, I'm gonna have joy.
I have a random one that just popped into my head that I would, if I found out today, you're gonna watch one, and I don't know if I would pick this tomorrow. I don't know if I would have picked it yesterday. The Toy with Richard Pryor. You ever see The Toy?
Wow, that is a pull.
You've never seen The Toy, Winston?
No.
Wow, you would love that movie.
I haven't seen it since I was like 15, 16, but it's amazing.
The Toy is incredible. It is it's incredible. It's an incredible movie. It makes me laugh every day. It was the thing that Richard Pryor's just next level in the. Do you know what it's about?
I'm assuming that a life-size Richard Pryor is some kid's toy or something like that.
But he's a reporter, and he's trying to find a job, and he can't get a job at this because they won't hire a black dude. So he starts sneaking around getting jobs, and he gets a job as a janitor, and he gets fired for messing around with this Wonder Wheel thing, and the guy who runs the whole paper, his son, sees him and goes, "That's what I want." And you can't have a black. We can't have a black guy as that's not. There's no. You can't pay him to come do it. And he's like, "That's who I want." And Jackie Gleason pays him to come and be his basically the kid's toy for a week, and it's like it's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Richard Pryor is next level in that one. Anyway, so
I mean, I'm always down for a good Richard Pryor.
Oh, it's so good. Man. It's so good. Winston, you got one before we move on?
Probably it's got to be Rush Hour 1 and 2, man.
Oh, that's good ones. Okay.
It's I've always said I consider them one movie since they pick up right with literally like they on their trip from the end of the first one, and I can't think of two better comedy films. It has everything: light racism, hilarious one-liners, like amazing action.
Yeah.
I love those movies.
It's a good one.
Much.
It's a good one. Okay, this is from Martin Schwarzenegger. Hey, Coy, can you recommend any AWA comics? I recently backed Ronda Rousey's graphic novel and received a promo for another AWA title, but I don't know any of them.
There's a book from J. Michael Straczynski, who's one of the great comic writers of our time, that is like a commentary on superhero culture in the same way that like The Boys is. It's diving into like what it is to be a powered person in our times, and it has a very Sentry-like character, and I don't really like the Sentry, and that's one of the things I'm really hoping for with Thunderbolts is I've never gotten the Sentry's appeal, but this comic actually made me like the Sentry archetype, and it's called The Madness. It is a book about a superhero that loses it when her entire family gets killed. So she's like a powered character in like a government type job, like an Avenger, and her whole family gets decimated by villains, and they think they kill her, but she comes back, and then she systematically punishers every single supervillain that led to the death of. So it's like a Punisher vengeance story with the Sentry, and it's awesome. It's from AWA. It's called The Madness.
Okay, cool. Ian Davis, if you did a Hunger Games style Arnold from Predator, Rambo, and Hobbs from the Fast and Furious movies fight to the death out in the forest, who wins? This is going to be a cheat answer because of the way the question is phrased. He phrased Arnold from Predator. He phrased Fast and Furious movies, Hobbs from the Fast and Furious movies, but he didn't pick a specific one for Rambo. Rambo is seasoned throughout the entire his movies. I'd have to give it to Rambo because Rambo goes through a lot. It depends on what part you're picking him at, where he is on his First Blood Rambo, then probably Arnold. If you're talking about Rambo as, right around Rambo 3 was like a superhero. You couldn't beat him. So I have to take Rambo. How about you guys?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's just the timing because it's the same way that we were talking about Wick versus Bourne versus Bond.
Right.
If you have a point, if you get to Wick for Wick, because now he's getting hit by cars every 2 seconds, like bouncing back and forth like a meme, and then thrown down 200 stairs and still able to properly duel. Like, do you know how many concussions you've had at that point? So I think it's the same thing. If you're going late Rambo is at peak superpowers. If you're going early Rambo, then Predator is taking on a super alien, like it's just Arnold is. What's the name of the sergeant that his name in that movie?
He's oh my god, he's Dutch.
Dutch.
Yeah, Dutch.
Yep.
My real answer is Dutch if I was going to be not thinking of the Hollywood of it all. But my cop-out answer is Dutch dies in Predator. We've seen Stallone die in movies. The Rock has a contract that says he has to exchange the same amount of punches and win his fights. So it's got to be The Rock contractually.
Well said. Unless that contract is run out. All right, let's see. This is Armada. The new Last of Us trailer got me in the feels. Also, that Amazon Alex Cross trailer looks pretty cool. I didn't see the Alex Cross trailer. I didn't realize they were doing an Alex Cross.
I think it's Michael B. Jordan, right?
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, because I think so. I mean, he showed no. Wait a minute, no, because no. I'm trying to think about it. That's Cross isn't Clancy, is it?
No, Cross is the one that he's the kiss the spiders. No, it was the one. No, yeah, he was Tyler Perry, but he was also
Tyler Perry played it.
He played him, but so did Morgan Freeman and
not Clancy.
Kiss All the Girls or something like that. What was it called? The one with Angelina Jolie.
Hodge. I'm sorry, I love Michael B. Jordan, but that's even more exciting. Aldous Hodge
is doing okay, good.
Oh, I love Aldous Hodge.
That's a good one.
I love Jordan too, but like I know him.
Aldous Hodge is pretty good. Yeah, the Last of Us trailer looked great. I thought it was actually absolutely spectacular. Ewok, who's going to lead the next Avengers films? In other words, which actor gets top billing? Will it still be RDJ as the villain or one of the heroes? Well, he's definitely going to be one of the heroes. He's going to be the villain, it looks like. But who's going to lead the next Avengers films? Do you guys have any clue?
Why did you say that like Seinfeld?
Why in the world?
Who's going to lead the Avengers?
Here's the question. Elaine isn't ready. She bought the tower. Why is she buying the tower?
Michael B. Jordan did do a Tom Clancy movie, didn't he?
Yeah,
we moved past that subject 3 minutes ago.
I'm so sorry. I was like stuck on it. So I think they mean like Downey Jr. headlining as Doom, not as a hero, but because he's Downey Jr. And I think he's gonna. You don't pay someone $90 million and second bill them. So I think inevitably, whatever movies Downey's in, except Fantastic Four, which he's a post credit, I think he's gonna headline. So I think the only name above the billing in the Avengers films is unfortunately going to be the villain.
Who's going to be the lead? Who's going to be the lead of the event
Oh, like actually leading the team?
Who's going to be the heroes? Who's going to be like the star of the movie?
I think it was going to be Shang-Chi when it was called Kang Dynasty. Now I assume it's going to be Cap, like after Cap 4, and White Widow, which I think she'll get that name in Thunderbolts, and Doctor Strange.
See, nobody. So
$900 million.
The answer is no one knows.
Yes,
because we still don't know how. Because Captain right now is it written and are they writing it? Because if so, they gotta. If I'm not, I don't have extreme confidence on them that Captain America is going to do great. I'm hoping it's going to do great, but and if it doesn't and it doesn't do well, do you lead with Captain America? I don't think so.
I just hope it's not a child in Spider-Man. Like, if they do Spider-Man, it's such a misrepresentation of the character and the Avengers. Like, Spider-Man is honored to be able to be an Avenger. That's the entire 3-act structure of his movies. And then, like, the character is 20 canonically. If that boy's leading,
is it the Fantastic Four? Because they really want to push them towards the forefront?
Maybe? I think budgetarily and IP wise, they want it to be Spider-Man, but it would be such poor writing if they did.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll just see.
I would say that Spidey's going to have definitely a leadership role for the younger. Like, I don't think they may not go Young Avengers anymore, but I have a feeling that he will lead this younger team inside the Avengers. You know what I'm saying? Where like all of a sudden now, if Kate Bishop's there and Miss Marvel's there, and all the various other younger heroes, I think they're all going to look to him to be their leader in that regard. So he'll almost feel like the RA for all the freshmen.
That I'm okay with. Like that's a fair. He's been deputized an Avenger, but he's not the leader.
He's not the lead.
If he wants to lead the new guys, that makes sense because he's got the experience. But man, if they go like who's popular and they make him a leader, like Tom Holland, the reason we like him is he seems young. Like that's not a leader yet.
All right, let's see. Next one here. This is from Miguel Zan. Thoughts on this guest release order of the DCU? I think after Soup, it's Peacemaker, Waller, Supergirl, Lanterns, Authority, Batman, Booster Gold. Any series or films y'all want to see or added in that one? Well,
Static Shock.
I think that when you start, I would say Soups, obviously we know is first. Peacemaker's probably second. I think Supergirl is third, then Waller. Oh, no. I think that Supergirl and Lanterns will probably come out around the same time because if they're casting Lanterns now, and it'll be 2026. Supergirl's what, 2026, 2027?
I think it's July 2026. I think it's dated.
Right. So I think that Lanterns could come out either right before Supergirl or right after. So I think it'll be Peacemaker, Soups, Peacemaker, Lanterns, Supergirl, Waller, or even maybe Authority, then Waller. Batman or Booster Gold. I mean, they're not going to cast Batman for quite a while. I think that it'll be a bit before they cast Batman. You guys? Wait, go ahead.
I think that they want to cast Batman for morale, but I think that might be, let's lock him in. We're going to sprinkle him in some stuff. But I think the Batman movie's probably 2028, maybe 2029. I honestly think they can wait because of how good Penguin and the Batman are doing. Like, people are very genuinely excited for the Elseworld. Like, it's not like we're not devoid of Batman content, so don't rush it.
Winston?
I mean, I'm honestly curious. In the same way that we're about to find out what's going on with Peacemaker, I would want to know more about Waller, because I think anything that's bleeding over from previous stuff, I'm
Need to be
actually
explained,
very curious how
right?
it's going to work.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Okay, so the next one is Miguel again, and he says, "What do y'all think of the relationship of Sinestro and Hal? What will it be in Lanterns? I think it's important to delve into that because that's his achievements. Will they cast someone close to Chandler's age or younger? Winston, what do you say about that one?"
It'll probably be somebody close to his age, but I still stand by, if you're going with an older Hal like this and you're going with an older and grizzled one, I have a feeling we're gonna get Parallax Hal. I think we're gonna get that kind of, he led in the same way that you kind of see that relationship between Hal and Sinestro.
Okay.
There might be like a warning of like, don't end up like him, but Hal is kind of dripping further into kind of the darkness, and then John has to be the one to like take him down. For me, I don't know why I feel like we're going to go in that direction at some point.
I don't know how important Sinestro is going to be because of how far along it seems like the Lantern Corps are by the time we meet them. We've got an established Justice League. We've got, an Earthbound story with the True Detective tone. I feel like Sinestro is maybe an episode, but I don't think he's going to be essential. If at all. It also is a way to separate from the Ryan Reynolds movie, to not have all of those elements and keep it into the two of them. So I don't know if we need Sinestro personally.
Okay. Next one here, and that is Christopher Carrillo. R.I.P. to Dan Maggie Smith. Absolutely. She was a legend. Icon from my childhood as millennial and Harry Potter fan who grew up with her in 8 films. Love her dry wit and humor. She was so good in those movies, and so good in just so much that she was in. She was a absolute legend. Yeah, R.I.P. for sure. Yeah. She was great. So good.
One of the best smirks in movies.
Oh, yeah.
That little smile that was so mischievous but warm.
Yes, yeah, 100%. Great call there. Julius Wyatt didn't love T1 as much as Kristian, but still had a good time. Talking about Transformers. 1. Sorry about your Giants, Kristian. What do you mean sorry about last night, I guess, with the stupid
Yeah, you got that ass whoop.
I don't know what you're excited. I don't know what you're excited about. You'll blow it in the playoffs anyway. Yeah.
2 things about T1. 1, I went to go see The Substance and enjoyed it, but it was like it was pain. It was meant to be. But as I was walking out on the Friday showing of The Substance, a fan from the show, yelled "Capes and Cowls" at me out the window, and it was the funniest thing that I like immediately instinctively turned like. I heard that and it was like a name. I was like, yes, I am Capes and Cowls in this moment. And
I am Capes and Cowls.
We talked about Transformers 1 and he was like, yeah, I saw it because Kristian said how good it was. And then because of that person and you, I went and saw it, and top 20 of the year.
It's so
I've seen 130 movies this year. It clears the 20. And it is, I think, my favorite Transformers movie ever.
I think so,
and
too.
there was a line that I literally clapped at like a 5-year-old that I'm so proud and embarrassed of when he's talking about the touch and the power. I seal clapped. I was like, oh, I'm a shot.
I absolutely loved it. But the other part is, what is your favorite Spielberg film? My favorite Spielberg film is probably Saving Private Ryan.
Jurassic Park is one of my only 5-star films.
Y'all are gonna think I'm smoking crack cocaine. The Terminal.
Wow.
Over the classics.
I love that movie.
Wow. Okay.
That is it kind of came out of nowhere.
I think you're the first person that's ever said that. Not
like those words have never been put together.
I'm not making fun of you. I'm just saying I don't think that most people, when you had that conversation, you're not going to. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say the Terminal. That's great.
Because here's the thing, I got to Jurassic Park late. I've never had the same fascination with dinosaurs that everybody else has. So that's kind of out the window for me. As good as it is, I just don't have that connection.
Yeah, I like that movie a lot. I wouldn't even put it in my top 4 or 5 of Spielberg's, but most people do.
Minority Report is so close as a modern one, but Terminal I need to rewatch.
He directed that?
Minority Report, yeah.
I thought he produced.
No, it's my second favorite Spielberg is Minority Report.
Oh well, then okay, fine.
Raiders of the Lost Ark's probably my number 2. So
came to it late. Remember,
I know.
I did that. Yeah.
Derek Johnson throwing in support. Derek Johnson has just been. I actually call him Derek the Great now, because he's single-handedly just. I mean, he's most. I think that out of the 106 questions that day, I think 57 of them came from him. Armada recorded reaction to the Apple TV Wolves movie, potentially. That movie's coming out, and I know my wife wants to see it. That's a potential. I don't know if it's necessarily a reaction yet, though, but I'm still getting. Look, here's the thing: is that Coy's part of the Real Rejects, and I love Greg Alves. He's one of my favorite human beings on the planet. I just got a phone call with him the other day. he is able to put out 1 to 2 movies a day. I do not have the bandwidth to do that yet. I can do 1 or 2 a week right now, aiming for 2. We did 2 this week. So my goal is first 2. You guys keep watching them, and then I'll have the bandwidth to be able to do more. So you guys keep watching them. That's why I beg of you to watch that Deadpool one today too, because that will help. Derek Johnson then says, whatever happened to Kate Mulligan? Kate's a happy mom with 2 wonderful kids, a great husband, and she's been working a lot too. But I would love to have Kate on the show again. Kate's a very good friend. Shay Markel, happy birthday to the Mafia Princess. Yeah, she's this morning she was opening up presents and like, thank you. I was like, yeah, what? Come on. She's like, and then she just switches on a dime to turn into a little cute angel. Like, thank you. And I'm like, oh my god. Buster Barnes, do you think there's any truth to the top picks for Hal Jordan turning down a role due to the stigma of the Green Lantern movie? That's what Winston was talking about before. Ryan does trash the movie any chance he gets. There could be a stigma. No, because I mean, like Daredevil had a stigma on it. You know, like there's a lot of movies that had stigmas on it. Batman had a right with the Adam West stuff. Yeah,
or Batman and Robin. Like literally, Batman and Robin. They waited some time and then they made
great call. It's a great call. People, there was a stink on it with before Nolan took it over. There was a big stink
also,
on
the
it.
Green Lantern team of writers is one of the best writing teams I've ever seen assembled. The showrunner is a genius, and then they just hired the director of the Iron Claw. I don't think. No, I think it's a silly.
I could see Josh Brolin. I could see Josh Brolin because he maybe had a phone call with with Reynolds, and Reynolds like, I don't know how they're gonna crack that thing. I have no idea, and he's just like, I'm too old for this thing, dude. Forget it, and he breaks off. But
I think Ryan's jabs at the Green Lantern are at the version they portray, not the character. I think it's very good-hearted. Like, what have I done?
Yeah.
I don't think he hates Hal Jordan. I think he hates that Hal Jordan got ruined.
Yeah. I agree. Dennis Hoffman, Coy and Winston, indie comic that you'd like to see adapted into a movie or a series. I'd love to see Daniel Warren Johnson's do a powerbomb.
Saga is something I've wanted to see my whole life. Saga is such a big space opera that would be so special and so weird. I don't know if it's filmable. It's one of those things like I don't know if you can adapt it, and I love that challenge to it. But there's also a really cool comic called. Can you say the word sex on YouTube, or does that demonetize you?
Yeah, you can say it.
I'm sure you can.
There's a comic called Sex Criminals where there are these people that
pairing of words though.
Yeah.
Well, these people that when they finish, it causes time to stop, so they start robbing banks and they discover this whole covert world of people that have like boning powers, and I think that'd be an awesome like Skinamax movie.
Okay.
Like I want to see a high budget, like I want to bring back 70s PORN and make it high budget superhero stuff. I think it'd be fun.
Little Emmanuel.
Yeah. Like I want to see like Ari Aster do like a weird like
I'll tell you a story about that one day. All right, so go ahead, Winston.
So
go ahead.
Specifically, what comic that hasn't been, or like it's not the. Go to the next question. I'll think on it.
Oh, look at you. All right, so I don't want to hear your answer later.
Now let the record show, Kristian, that was the most delicate I could be about such subject matter because I know we want to keep the lives alive, and that is like an NC-17 comic. I think that was graceful.
Right. Oh, look, Scott D says I like Michael Giacchino's Penguin score. Oh, Mick Giacchino's Penguin score. Michael's son. Yeah, well, the talent in that family is ridiculous. So good. Yeah, it's so good.
Oh, the Ninja Turtles, the last. I know that's still kind of a major, but the last Ronin story that they did.
Yeah. What about?
They're doing that. That's gonna happen, Winston.
Oh, look at those.
Oh, sugar.
That was good. That was good. ZB, happy birthday to the little gangster. Thank you so much. Yeah, she's 7 years old. It was so funny. Like Sadie was now it's funny now too. Like I mentioned, my wife and people now have like an actual visual of Sadie. She was like in a happy mood and then said happy 7th birthday, Maisie, and then she just cried. She's like, oh, my babies are growing up. Derek Johnson, my pick would have been Aldous Hodge for Jon Stewart. Well, there's still that's not a bad choice. Not a bad choice. But Shay Markel says Damson Idris has the acting chops for Lantern, but he's a smaller guy. Aaron Pierre looks like a superhero, but I'm not passionate about his acting. It's good points. Look, some people will surprise you sometimes too, right? Because I remember even like in the late 90s, Josh Hartnett was cast in everything. I was like, he's casting that guy because he's a good-looking guy. Guy can't act. And fast forward to today, he's fantastic. Fantastic.
Pretty damn good,
he's
man.
really good. Roman Fedorak. Hey. Wanted to spread the thanks to the entire KH crew. Thank you, Roman. Winston and Coy, thank you guys for being a part of this and for continuing to give us a great show. It's so appreciated right now. Roman Fedorak might be one of the nicest people in this community. So what he's done, every single person that's been on this show, myself included, obviously, but all the guests, he's come in here to thank them for being part of it. He's in graduate school right now, and he's doing things. So what a nice comment from Roman. Thank you, Roman. Man. Matt Sinister McCall, happy for Kyle Chandler, but he knew about the role a day before he was cast. He gets tomorrow's paper today. Remember the show early edition. So that is interesting, though, right? To where if you're going, because if you're Kyle Chandler, the ego part of it doesn't bother you at all, because that's the beauty of going after someone like Kyle Chandler, where let's say you went after 5 people and they all passed on it, and then you go to Bradley Cooper and he's like, everybody passed on it. I'm not going on this thing, right? Kyle Chandler's like, okay, sure, let me see it. What is it? Day before? I don't care who's passed on it. What it's going to pay me how much? I can do this. Oh, great. I could potentially get a little. I haven't had a role like this. I could potentially be in a movie. Sign me up. Makes sense for Kyle Chandler to do this.
I think he's going to crush it. I'm very excited for what he's going to do, man. I'm totally here for it.
Roman Fedorak. Again, thank you, Roman. Overrated and underrated superhero movies. Overrated for me is Spider-Man 2. Especially after your guys' rewatch. I still think it's good, but not as great as some I know say. Underrated, Captain America 1. I love the WW2 setting. I think those are good choices. I like Spider-Man 2, and we did our rewatch and stuff for it. I liked it, but I do. People put it on this pedestal that I don't think it belongs on. I'm trying to think of other ones that people really love that I think is like, okay. I'm trying to think of underrated. There's something I've seen. Oh, what I think is underrated is I think all 3 of us agree with this. I think Eternals is underrated.
I totally, yeah. I mean, that's my brand at this point.
Yeah.
I think The Crow is underrated. I feel like no. No, but I feel like when we talk about the classic movies that got us here, Blade is finally in the conversation. Like, I feel like in the last 3 or 4 years, people have at least started tipping their hat to Blade. I think Blade is still the thing that got us the MCU and DC modern comics. I think Blade is deservedly starting to get love, but no one talks about The Crow. And I think The Crow is a beautiful adaptation. I think it gets the heart of the comic. So I think underrated The Crow. I think it's loved, but not loved enough. And then overrated. I think Spider-Man 2 is fantastic, but I agree it's not Mount Rushmore for me. So I can't put it there. And then I'm going to go Thor Ragnarok to be my experience. I didn't think the comedy was as funny as everyone said. I do think it undermined the character. I think it was the start of the slippery slope to phase 4 and 5 that no one realizes.
Okay.
I think people looked at Thor Ragnarok and went like, this is what they want. And then everything became silly, except ironically Eternals. So I think Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2 are my 2.
It's a good one. I would have said a while ago, I would have said Guardians 2, but I have a better appreciation for that these days. But
I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah, I have a better. I mean, I still think they're handing out jokes a little too freely in that movie, but I think it's got a more emotional moments than I give it credit for.
Overrated Civil War, not because it's not good. It's actually very good. I just think that like
not on the pedestal.
I know how deep, and I know that would have been you're asking a lot, but I know how deep this actual Civil War like comic storyline goes, that like I know how much more potential there was there, and I think you wasted Brule, oh my god, villain
Daniel Brühl.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think that like you got some redemption in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but that is a wasted on Zemo.
Yeah,
he is much more than that. And then underrated, I think Wakanda Forever, and partially because the reasoning is it got hamstrung by a few things, and especially there's the recast T'Challa movement and everything else in there. I think that people kind of wrote it off a little bit more, but the fact that Angela, and that's not on us, but the fact that Angela didn't get her Oscar for that performance is kind of crazy to me. Like I just resaw that scene randomly. It was on at work because they just allow us to run movies now, which is awesome.
I guess that my overrated would probably be Shang-Chi then, because I would say that I like Shang-Chi, but like people were like that movie was great. I think the first 2 acts are great. The third one is just like
everyone's kind of
generic.
I'm also going to say in this conversation that Civil War's in my top 10 MCU, but I don't disagree with anything Winston said about his experience. So that's a great example of how we opened the show. I think the beautiful subjectivity of art should be
because Winston made his points well.
Yeah, and I'm not like, right.
I'm
like,
well, because
that makes sense for your take.
he made his points. It's like, okay.
Whereas I wasn't attached to Zemo to the level he was, that would color my experience differently.
Oh, there you go.
I think that's it for me. I
get it.
Zemo was so fascinating of a character.
But it just didn't work. They didn't do that. They didn't do very well for a lot of those characters until they got to Killmonger, and then they were able to do, and then Thanos. I remember they didn't have enough. All the villains were so subpar. And then I remember Killmonger came in, and I went, Killmonger, he finally took the title, and then he lost the title after his first fight.
It's just after the first fight.
Yeah. Derek Johnson, Boyega was my first choice for Blade. He would have been perfect, and he's young enough to play that character for a while. Well, here's a hot take. I still think there's a possibility that Boyega could play Blade.
I think so, too.
I still think there's a possibility. I still think that if you're Marvel, you call Mahershala Ali in, you give him a sweetheart of a deal, and you overpay him to do something else, and you say, here are all the wonderful roles that we think, and you can give your input on it. We want you to play whatever you want. We just want to move in a different direction with Blade, and you do too. And you give him somebody else to play, and you hook him up, and then you get somebody like a John Boyega. That would be my thought process. Because when they signed him on, it was 5 or 6 years ago. They were supposed to have the first movie out like 3 or 4 years ago. They should be working on number 2 at this point. Instead, they're still haven't even put number 1 out, and it's getting backed up again. Stop wasting this guy's time and have him do something else. All right, so this is Mad Sinister Macau. Rank my favorite Marvel villains. I'll let you guys do this one. Dr. Doom, Juggernaut, Kingpin, Green Goblin, Mystique. Also, who is a villain you'd like to see in the MCU? So, Dr. Doom, Juggernaut. Why don't you rank them? And then, Winston, what villain would you like to see in the MCU? So, rank top 5 Marvel villains: Doom, Juggernaut, Kingpin, Goblin, Mystique.
I think Doom is like power and intrigue and interest. I'm a huge Green Goblin guy. I think Green Goblin is how a lot of people perceive Doc Ock. I think he's a great Peter Parker and Spider-Man villain, so he's my number 2. Kingpin, just because he's street level as well as he can hang with the big guys. Who are the last 2?
You had
Juggernaut.
And then Juggernaut, Mystique and Juggernaut.
Yeah.
And then Mystique, because I love that she's nuanced and why she's a villain. I think she's got a lot going on. Okay. And then Juggernaut, I think is a brute force that has levels of interest, but nothing like those other 4.
The reason we didn't do Penguin today, by the way, is because I found out while we were in this, Penguin didn't even come out last night. It comes out on Sundays now.
Yeah, I was wondering why you guys were like, oh, I haven't seen it yet. I was like, you don't need
to. I'm so tired.
It doesn't come out. Well, I have the. I'm gonna watch the screener.
It's amazing.
Yeah, okay,
it's
good.
even better than the first.
Good.
Oh,
well,
good for
okay,
you.
Good. Hey! Don't be rude.
I was trying to help, not spoiler.
Exactly. Hype. What villain, Winston, real quick, do you want to see?
Out of those 5?
No, that you want to see. What villain do you want to see appear in the MCU?
In the MCU, I mean, I'm excited for Galactus. Okay. I really want to see what they're going to do this time, because the Puff Cloud was the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen. Yeah. So I really want to see what they actually do with a force of nature.
Okay, there you go. So Derek Johnson says Boyega could also be Bishop of the X-Men, which is also
quick pause. How do you rank these as the top 5 Marvel villains and leave Magneto off? Because that is the answer.
Yeah,
it's Magneto then Doom, in my opinion, and I always fluctuate.
That's a good one too. Finally. Yeah. Well, Derek says, Kristian, we also donate because you're doing the show as well. I know, I appreciate that, but it's also my argument to that is I hosted the show yesterday and I pulled in a whopping 8 or 9 questions. But I did have Clark Wolf on a pre-taped interview, and it was a great conversation. I would go back if anybody hadn't seen that. Clark's doing excellent stuff right now. She was here in studio, and it was great to see her. The sad movie guy. I think Thunderbolts looks cool, but is anyone else's excitement hampered by the lackluster multiverse saga? I think that's overall their problem, right? They've got to be able to get that. This is the first movie that is not going to is working off the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, but has to work on its own, set up the things that are coming, and still play into this multiverse thing. The multiverse thing needs to go away. Unfortunately, they took a shot at it, but it didn't work. It didn't work, and that's okay.
I love shared universes, but I've never gone into a movie and been like, oh, this is affected by the last movie, because it's a different team. It's a different writer. It's a different director. It's a different cast. Like, I get that it's produced by a company, but when I watch a Kevin Smith Miramax film, I don't go, oh, the parent company's Disney, I'm mad at Disney. I go, oh, Kevin Smith made this movie. I've never understood I'm judging this off the last experience, because then I would be going into Winter Soldier thinking about potentially Thor Dark World. Like, it doesn't make any sense to weigh your experience on another team. I actually don't understand that.
Specifically Star Wars across Marvel?
I don't understand it in any producing caliber. Like, it's a different world of.
Because we're in a different world, man. Because you gotta remember, Feige really is the the commander in chief here, and the rest of these are his general, his 5-star.
But then
general.
Agatha would be weighted against WandaVision. They're totally different, and they're even sisters. Like, the show it's a spinoff of, and I think Agatha is not as good for my experience as WandaVision. But I don't go into Agatha thinking about WandaVision. Like, that'd be weird.
Right. Okay. So let's see. And thank you. Appreciate that. And then the sad movie guy, breaking from the Hollywood Reporter. Aaron Pierre and Stephen James in the mix to play Jon Stewart and Lanterns. Yeah, that was the one we covered just beforehand too. So very interested to see how that's going to play out. Michael Miles. After seeing his turn in The Woman King, I always felt John Boyega would be the perfect recast as a resurrected T'Challa. There is precedent in the comics because he's the king of the dead. Enough time has passed. Is there any world where, we're just talking about him being recast as Blade? Is there any world that you just talking about recast T'Challa? Is there any world where they could recast T'Challa with John Boyega?
That would be fire. I would be so here for that. I think in my brain, I genuinely just think he probably doesn't F with Disney like that. But if that might be the one role where he's seen the reverence that comes from it. He would want to pay tribute to Chadwick, because I know that the two of them apparently did have a pretty solid friendship. That would be fire.
That'd be a good one.
Great casting.
I see him as that much more than Blade personally.
Yeah.
I've always seen Blade different. Like, the energy of Blade versus the energy Boyega brings. I see that more.
I agree with you. Scott D. On the Lanterns live show, on the Langerns live show, they suggested he's voicing Chip with Guy Gardner Green Lanterns. I guess they filmed scenes with Squirrel and Superman Legacy. I think he's talking about Alan Tudyk.
That would totally make sense with Alan Tudyk's career. He's got like 200 voice acting roles.
Really,
so that's another reason I thought them, like, Alan Tudyk's in Superman. Like, let's see how he is.
Let's see how. Alex, I'm sick of the Agatha Desperate comparison because it feels like it's only because both are about middle-aged women. Desperate Housewives was dark. There was a disabled man locked in a basement. Run them jewels fast, Winston. I didn't realize that there was a Run the Jewels song in Deadpool 2. But the look, it's not just everything that's in it. It's like you clearly feel these women who are together have this kind of relation. There are a couple dark things that are happening in this show too, by the way.
It's about witchcraft.
Yeah,
bro. They're like, without getting into it, there's already been a death.
Yeah,
like,
this show is kind of dark as well. Some of the imagery too. So it is. I think it's not only because both are middle-aged women. It is because of the tone that they are putting together. And as we said, it's not just restaurants. It's meets practical magic. If somebody walked into that room and said, okay, so Agatha, what we're thinking is Catherine Hahn comes back and it's almost like Desperate Housewives meets practical magic, and we'll do this and that. Those are popular movies, popular shows.
On top of the fact that for those that don't know, let me give you a key into the industry. When you go and pitch a show or a movie, you give something called comps, meaning your comparisons.
Yeah.
So you literally would say, this is the idea that I have for the Agatha spinoff show. It would be Desperate Housewives meets Hocus Pocus.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That sounds like a good idea.
Also, the first episode was True Detective, which they advertised it as. Like, they've literally made these references very clear. True Detective posters, Rocky Horror posters.
Or even with lanterns. It's Space Cops meets
True Detective. Yeah.
And I guarantee episode 4 picks a different tone because they've did a different tone for 1 and 3. Like, the next episode might be something totally. All
right. Evil John Madden. I just heard they are doing another adaptation of Zorro. So I rewatched Zorro, the Gay Blade. Hilarious. Have you guys ever seen it? No, I never saw it. No, I never
It's
saw
what it's called. Canonically, that is the thing that Bruce Wayne's parents were going to see in a lot of interpretations.
Oh, wow.
So the Gay Blade killed.
No, I never saw it. I heard that there's something that was coming out, but I'm not sure. I'd be curious to see how they're going to do it. I assume it would be Disney, but I don't know. The Sad Movie Guy. For my comic peeps, is there any Image comics you'd like to see adapted to live action? Personally, I'd like to see God County, excuse me, or Gideon Falls. Is there anything, Coy, that comes to mind from Image?
That Saga comic that I mentioned earlier was Image, as was Bleep Criminals. I would love to see. Oh, there's a fun comic right now called Grommets. That is Rick Remender, and it's a skateboarding in the 80s comic, and it's super slice of life. It literally just feels like you're hanging out with your friends if you were around in the 80s, which I wasn't a lot of, but like that reverence for nostalgia is so popular with 90s culture. It'd be cool to see like an 80s adaptation. Anything Rick Remender. I really would love Deadly Class to get another chance. I thought the Deadly Class show was great.
Okay. And this is Evil John Madden. Kristian, please make your wife or anyone else watch Black Dynamite for your channel. That movie is great.
Oh my God, please!
Dude, I love Black Dynamite.
You know what's funny is that it's a movie.
Before you came in the room.
It's a movie I've always wanted to see. Michael Jai White. I started watching.
Never seen
No, I was watching. I was in the middle of.
Watch it.
I probably will watch it with Sam. I'd probably watch it with Sam. I don't think Sadie. I don't think I can get Sadie to watch it.
Watch it with me.
I'm telling you, Sam will watch it. Sam reacted to. That's why the same thing with Sadie was like, how come I'm not watching Deadpool and Wolverine? I said, because you've seen 1 and 2. And I said, you also don't. And I knew, like, Sam, you guys should watch some of that reaction. Sam, the way that she lost her mind on these jokes. It was so funny.
There's gonna be a moment where you'll see Michael Jai White do this very blatant.
Don't tell me. I don't want to know. I don't know.
All I'll say is you'll hear a line that goes, "Hush up, little girl." You'll know exactly what's going on.
All right. Shay Markel, do you guys care to see a Terry McGinnis in a movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the best legacy characters of all time. And Batman Beyond would be so great right now with like we're literally making cars that are starting to look like Batman Beyond. Like we're actually entering the era where it would be cool to go like it's near future. It's not even that far from now.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Batman Beyond.
Yes, a 3 away from 50. That's a good fight back. 47. Good fight back. 3 away from 50. Mike Pelly, what if in 616 Tony was actually adopted by Howard unknowingly? His real name was Victor, making other variants that weren't adapted. Doom could make for interesting storytelling. It just gets confusing for me because it's like if like hearing like it's fun for the comic book fans. It's fun for people to like really dive into it, but how does the average person handle all that information? You know what I mean?
The longer it's been, the more I dislike.
Yeah. Let's see. Swan King just puts in a very nice $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I think there's are there any more left? There may be a couple left. Oh, Swan King follows it back up and says, in honor of better help, who would you want as a therapist? The Ancient One, Professor X, Gandalf, or Master Yoda? Can I say Jennifer Melfi from The Sopranos? Rather have her. But I probably Yoda. Probably Yoda.
I feel like Yoda's the most benevolent of any of them.
Yeah.
I feel like Xavier's definitely got some evil in him. Gandalf can turn on a dime.
It depends on when you get Gandalf. If you get Gandalf when he's smoking a bowl, it'll be fine. But if you get Gandalf when he's all moody, then no.
Can I get Gandalf the White by request? Because Gandalf the Grey gets real pissy.
The White's too serious.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
It also depends on which Xavier. Xavier's always got his pretty flawed scenario.
Wait! I gotta cut you off for a second because you just said something that I knew I was going to ask both of you. So the Deadpool 2 timeline to me is a little screwed up, right? Because if in Deadpool, and explain it to me quick if you can. In Deadpool and Wolverine, there's something that happens in the very beginning of the movie that clearly kind of shows that the let's say that the Logan universe and everything that's in there, that right around that timeline of where Logan is where Deadpool is, right? Like in that timeline, he's in that timeline.
He uses the time turner to get there, though.
To get to that one?
He goes to Logan. Like he
doesn't
use multiversal travel.
Who's the Wolverine? Who's the Wolverine in his universe then?
I think it's always been Logan, but he travels back in time when Logan died, right?
No, because in his timeline, James McAvoy is Professor X, and because he's in the second movie.
But in the first movie, he even says McAvoy or Stewart. He's aware of both. Yeah,
but you see McAvoy in Deadpool 2. So McAvoy is clearly, and so is Beast.
You got to remember, though, I think part of what's going on there, too, is that's also I believe, before Days of Future Past, which resets a lot of stuff anyway. So I think you're in a sweet spot where stuff hasn't happened yet.
I also think
you're also not wrong. The Fox universe is it's a mess. It's not spaghetti uncooked. No. It's cooked spaghetti.
It's a mess, and also they had no clue they would ever time back up into the MCU. Dustin Owens, if y'all could make a comic book movie based on lesser known comic, what would you make? That's easy. Capes and Cows. It's gonna be coming out soon as Wicked Art finishes it. I'm still hoping the Spawn movie gets made. Me too, and Coy's having a blast back there. Yeah, do you guys Spawn, right? For everybody?
That's some Spawn.
Yeah, Spawn.
I've talked about a ton today, but Spawn is up there.
Okay. Buster Barnes, I think DCU Batman movie will be released in 2027. That's possible. Could start filming in 2026 with Muschietti free after Welcome to Derry. They want a big release 2027. I think that's fair timing. I think that's timing.
That's the earliest. I also think they might pair big movie, small movie. Like, I think Superman is a known quantity, Supergirl less known. I think whatever's next, then paired with Batman. I think 2027 is absolute earliest, but possible.
It depends on when The Batman Part 2 comes out. If The Batman Part 2 comes out in 2026, then maybe. If The Batman 2022 Part 2 comes out in 2027, then no chance. So that's why they got to figure that out.
Batman's every year.
Yeah, right. Shay Markel. No way. The Terminals is my favorite too. Bite to eat is what Shay Markel said. The Terminal is his favorite also.
Hey, you got another one, Winston.
Yeah, what? Dude. I mean, the Terminal's great. It really is. I thought you said Terminator, and I was like,
Terminal.
I don't remember saying anything about the Terminator, but okay.
Joey Pedras. If he was still around, what villain would James Gandolfini both fit in the MCU, DCU, avoiding the obvious typecast? I know he was such a good actor that he could have played a lot of different things. I actually think he would have been a good Kingpin, if not Vincent.
But I think that's the obvious
typecasting. It is typecasting, but I still think he would have been good Kingpin.
He would have been a great Kingpin for sure. Because you're gonna have to probably go back into the Hellfire Club, Sebastian Shaw.
Oh, I like that, Winston. That's good.
That's a good one.
I'm gonna go Mole Man because I think it actually adds some nuance to him. Like, I think Mole Man would be really interesting, and Gandolfini just like having these. Man.
Okay. Andrew Carnes, who do you think will be the DCU's first Thanos big bad? They're gonna try to dark. Are they gonna try Brainiac? I was gonna say you think they're not.
Yeah, I think Darkseid's too soon.
Yeah, they just did it.
Yeah. Man, that's a great question. I don't think they need a unifying big bad anytime soon.
Okay. And this is from Ian Davis. It would be great to get an answer from the three of you. What is an actor that has portrayed the comic book version of that character the best? Is it too easy of an answer or too cliche of an answer to say Heath Ledger? The Joker?
What's tricky is Heath Ledger's Joker is its own, like, it's not direct from the comics, so it's like the adaptation versus, because that's the thing about the Joker is he's so fluid as far, like, he has 10 origins in that movie because the Joker can.
Right.
Man, because Downey Jr. arguably changed Iron Man, and Cap changed after Chris Evans. So those are good, but they arguably changed the comics. Man, this is a good question because it is tricky because Spider-Man, like Tom Holland, changed the comics too. Winston, you got anything?
Not really, man.
Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds. Sorry, Ryan Reynolds was literally referenced before they cast him. They were like, "What's Deadpool like?" Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is mine.
Okay. Cooley High. What's up, fam? Do you think we'll ever get Mahershala Ali's Blade? No. Also, please see Transformers 1. It's so good. Y'all be easy.
I'm off work early today. That's what I'm doing today.
You got it. It's really, really great. I'm so glad that so many people are now going to check it out because of a lot of people talking. So, Kingsport Cal, Christian's kids, like all of you guys give me birthday wishes. All I want to know is where's my cake? Animation is for everyone. Yes, it is. That's true. That is true. That's the same point that I'd always try to make is you can gear it towards kids and everybody can still like it. So when someone says, "Oh, that's a movie for kids," it doesn't mean that adults can't like it.
That is the only point I was really making earlier again.
Yeah, sure. Cooley High. I think Thunderbolts is a secret Dark Avengers movie, and so does Spidey Cat. Yeah.
Yep.
You guys think it's a Dark Avengers movie also? Yeah,
100%. I think that's what the asterisk is.
1,000% what that asterisk is.
Yeah, and then they're just gonna, and it'll be interesting how they play that. Mike Joyce says, rumor is that the Batman 2 takes place the winter after the first movie, which would be a few weeks. Would you want a bigger time jump between movies? I want whatever works best with the story.
I think they're going to go right from Penguin ending into, they said, into the Batman. And I think it would be smart to have, however many months the Penguin takes place over, be Batman figuring out his next step. So I think it's a beautiful, continuous story, and I think it's smart.
Andrew Carnes, hoping at some point we get a Superman movie where he takes on the U.S. military industrial complex. This movie is ripe to be made, and our world needs it. Well, we got to establish Superman first. We got to really hope that people get behind him and that people really want to, that they like David Cornsweet. I feel like they will, but you got to get him on board before you start taking. I think I'm so curious that it is definitely becoming my most anticipated movie for a lot of different reasons. One, I want to see a Superman movie. Two, I want to see that old school kind of hopeful Superman. And I think that the third reason I really want to see it is because I'm so curious of how they're going to pull it off. So,
yeah. It's especially because, again, I think Coy and I have both talked about this. Coy mainly has been ringing that bell. We need to go back to form of just classic soups. Just and just the symbol of hope.
Yeah,
so aspirational, not inspirational. Yeah, I agree. Like it's overdue.
Okay, Matt Garcia, Bruce Wayne and his parents saw the Mark of Zorro starring Tyrone Powers in the comics canon. That's what he says. The Mark.
Yeah, every canon has a different Zorro, but the Gay Blade is one that they've used a few times, and I just have always found it funny that Martha and Thomas were like, "Let's dress up and go watch Zorro."
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Russell Amador, thoughts on a potential live-action Street Sharks movie? Am I the only one seeking this? What is that?
The Street Sharks was there was an age in the 90s where once the Ninja Turtles came out, everybody goes, we gotta get anthropomorphic animals and they gotta be badass. So it started with Ninja Turtles, and then you had Street Sharks, you had Biker Mice from Mars, you had Bucky O'Hare, you had just all of these and so the Mighty Ducks actually got turned into actual alien ducks that fought crime. Like there's a whole slew of them. I like Street Sharks, but I don't know. I don't know.
If David Lynch directed it.
Yeah.
I would only do it if it was the Ninja Turtles. It was like a Ninja Turtles movie, and all of those properties came in. Like, oh, bro, we're sharks from this. That would be funny.
That would be funny. All right. So we also have the sad movie guy who says, I just wanted to end the show by saying balls.
Did somebody say balls? Yeah. What's up, Winston? How you doing, player?
It's been a minute.
It's nice to talk to you. And what you do? What you say? Bring that little cat up. Bring that cat up. Come on. Bring that cat. Come on, Spidey. Hey, Spidey, you want some love, baby? What you doing? You ain't even looking at my ass? Fine, I've been there before. I know. I walk into a bar. You look at
He's afraid.
There's some shit going on. There's some shit going on right now. That's fine. That's fine. I'm big balls. Want to go fuck up some shit? No? Fine.
All right. Thanks, Big Balls, for nothing. All right. Thank you guys for joining us here today. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you to Spidey Cat for doing a surprise appearance. Thank you to Big Balls for showing up. Winston, where can I find you?
Find me at the Swaggy Blurred here on YouTube and on all platforms. I've got another Blurred breakdown dropping today, which I'm excited about. I've got to now, thank God, the Penguin comes out on Sunday, so I can play a little catch up on some other stuff that I got going on. And other than that, Game Time with Roca, Spill the Tequila. That's everything.
Coy?
Oh, fine. Sorry, last thing. I just wanted to get the same thing. We're just talking about fans. I met one at an audition. I believe his name was also Alex. And then I met another fan at the ACFC game. Shout out to Sydney.
Nice.
You can find me in Spidey Cat on my YouTube at Coy Jondro. I'm putting up a Wild Robot review today. I loved it.
It's really good. It's really good.
So good. And then This Week in Comics tomorrow, and then Sunday Penguin. Lots of stuff on my page. So hunt me and Spidey Cat down over there. He's having a time. He's having an experience.
All right. So thanks for joining us here today. Thank you, Winston and Coy. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We got a lot of things going on in the channel right now. As I mentioned, we have the Deadpool reaction up right now. I'm going to get the Penguin one up also. We have so many things. Please go and support the Deadpool reaction. Give Sam some love. Watch the Agatha stuff we have. And that's it, man. Joker next week. We have so much happening on the channel. So put your comments in there. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate you. And we'll see you here on Monday. All right, everybody. See you. Bye.